So a question that is often asked of business professors is, why don't you go work in industry? Because we have like a pretty good knowledge of things, and we probably could add a lot of value. Well, I know that we can add a lot of value, and the reason why I would suggest that it's actually pretty easy, and I want to talk about that. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Dave Masek. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. So why do I think that we can add a tremendous amount of value? It's actually really easy. If you look at the salaries that we get paid as business professors, there's something that's called a salary inversion, where the people that we teach often get paid more than what we actually make on average. And this has been an ongoing thing for many years. And you can look at, you could just look at the numbers in terms of, and especially at some schools, it's more severe than others. And so we'll teach MBAs, and a lot of MBAs will get out and make a really good salary compared to what the professors make. And another sort of phenomenon that you see a lot is many people come from industry, and many people are doing quite well. I've had known a number of people that are quite, wealthy, or they had, great careers, and they gave that up to become a professor. So they went and got a PhD. And so why do we do this? And there's actually a really great paper that I read a while ago. It was by, and I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's at MIT now, looking at the sort of salary inversion of I can see it with these. Light is right in the eye. You get to hear me as I'm doing. So, got hands-free on, and I'm talking to you when I'm driving, doing my commute. It's early in the morning, and we got the sun coming in on the windshield, and we got some dew on the windshield, or on the window on the side door, and I cannot see. So I had to take a quick look and really look into it. It's really difficult in the morning. Okay, so apologize for the intermittent thing, but so what I wanted to say is that we do have this thing going on. So why do we actually do this, right? Why do we choose to become business professors? It's often become it's actually a really difficult problem, right? So first of all, it's, one element is that we kind of like to do the things that we do, and we have, more autonomy than many particular jobs, which just has pros and cons. The sort of pros is we have autonomy, right? Like we could do whatever we want to do. The con is that we have to still work, 60-hour work weeks or whatever, right? Like we're doing. As long as, what was the running joke is, you could do whatever you want to do as long as you do it for like 90-hour weeks or something like that, right? So we don't really have that much autonomy. We have to sort of do a lot of stuff all the time, and we're under sort of tight budget constraints compared to industry. So that is, it's a challenging thing, right? Like but some of this reality is going to exist no matter where you are. And I think another thing that happens is that I think that many people are unaware of similar positions that you can find within industry. And the problem is a lot of industry doesn't necessarily honor some of these similar positions, right? So it's kind of interesting to sort of do discovery and to do R&D. And I've worked in research and development and before in other areas, in industry, and there are similar positions that are out there. In fact, that's how I got enticed personally to go and do my PhDs, because I was in a group. It was a bunch of engineers that had their PhDs that started a software company. And so I was enticed, I was interested in doing this. And, a third thing that you end up getting into is that you end up getting into the competitive game of it, right? That there is this sort of competition of what you're writing and what you're doing, and people sort of become part of the game, and you build status as you're doing this, right? So as you're participating, you build, the longer that you're in it, the more sort of famous you get, and people recognize you for what you are. So you're kind of building another better way of looking at professors in what we do is you can imagine us as like our own independent contractors, and we are, we get paid from the university, but we're actually really independent contractors in a lot of different ways. And what we end up doing is going and establishing our reputation based on that. We often don't care what the university we're at. I mean, it makes a big difference. But as long as we can do this sort of contract work and build our, our prestige, all of that kind of stuff, and that's what we're more interested in, is sort of having that prestige that other people recognize you for. And the last sort of component is that there is very strong social norms, extremely strong social norms, not to leave academia once you're in it, and to breach that academic industry boundary, which I don't care, right? Like if it was me, and if I stumble across a similar comparable position that is, just as promising and just as exciting, then I might jump on it, right? Like I got in industry, I've got no sort of predisposition there, but that is a really big thing. Right. Oh, and the last thing, and it's sort of related to, the third point that I was pointing out, is there's search costs involved. And those search costs are actually quite high because we're really specialized. So to find that right opportunity is actually pretty daunting, and it takes an awful lot of work. And I know that there are recruiters and all that kind of stuff, but that is a challenge. Even they're not going to be that good in terms of establishing what you're interested in and what you can do, because a lot of what you do in industry, especially as you get to the what we would end up doing, right? We would be in management roles. Now, are we in management roles in academia? Yeah, we often are. But, we're doing management roles. We're not sitting back and sort of studying how managers actually behave or how organizations actually work, which is different. And now there are consulting roles that you might be able to get at large consulting companies, like a McKinsey, for example. However, the expectation is that you're traveling a fair bit. Now, do we travel as academics? Yes, we do. Do we travel to the same extent as a McKinsey? No, we don't, right? Like they're traveling often. Their expectation is to be traveling, weekly, and, being 3 days at the site and then coming back. And the sort of demands when you have that with the family and all that kind of stuff, it's actually quite challenging, and it's somewhat problematic, right? So lots of people choose to, there is some benefit of being in the institutions that have beautiful grounds, sometimes, and that was a big actually career choice. That very big decision point for me was looking at, the places that we were going to live, right? So I'm not a big city kid, like that's not what I grew up in. I don't like commuting, and which is like the default. If you live in a city, is you got to commute for hours. So I don't like that. And so I was looking for, a place where you're in a college town and all that kind of stuff, right? Like that whole life. And there is a lot of benefit that you get from being on a campus like that. And, one last thing is that there is a lot of interesting ideas that are bumping around a university campus as like a group of, where you are running into people that are doing interesting things. And that's pretty hard. I mean, you see that at some places, but that's pretty hard to find, a collection, a smattering of, hanging out with somebody that's in arts and doing something that's interesting in arts, or, finding all of this collaboration it's not necessarily collaboration, but just like this spirit of interesting ideas and new things that come out. You don't get that in a lot of places, and that sort of location component of it is pretty substantial, in that, that there are these ideas that are there and they transfer over and they bump over. Notice I'm kind of different. I did not mention teaching, which is often what people get into it, but research is such a big part of it. You got to understand that teaching is only a small component, and it actually, for most professors, I know you don't want to hear this, anybody that's listening, it's pretty irrelevant, and I know that's painful to say, but it is pretty irrelevant to the position. We're paid to do research for the most part, and you have to sort of get used to that, and that was sort of a thing that you think that there's a lot more teaching involved, but it's really not. That research is what is the driving force behind it. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave me some comments, and I'd be happy to. I'm absolutely grateful if you left comments on the old pod. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.